What's going on, guys? So, today I want to talk a little bit about this new movie that I just saw, and that is Evil Dead Burn. This is the third installment in what has essentially been a full reboot of the Evil Dead franchise, starting with Evil Dead in 2013, as well as Evil Dead Rise in 2023. I'm not someone who grew up with the original Evil Dead franchise, as I was born in the late 90s, so it kind of preceded my time a little bit. However, I finally got around to watching them as an adult, and I love the first two movies for how much passion is on display for filmmaking. Both are low budget films that were directed by Sam Raimi in the 1980s, but stood out for their over the top gore, unapologetic campiness, and overall very memorable performances. I am also a fan of both of the new Evil Dead films, in particular Evil Dead Rise that came out only a couple years ago. While both movies feel a bit heavier in tone and subject matter, they still hold true to what made Evil Dead special in the first place. Which is why I went into this movie with pretty high hopes, just considering how consistent this franchise has been already. This movie is about a woman who seeks refuge with her in-laws following the death of her husband, only for it to turn into another Evil Dead demonic nightmare. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the plot here for this review. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of dive right into it and just say that I didn't really care for this movie too much. The biggest problem for me is that there is nothing really that memorable about this movie, and all of the characters are so boring and uninteresting. Like, walking outside the theater after it was over, I was genuinely struggling to remember what any of the characters' names were. The big idea behind this movie is that when the main character stays with her in-laws, each of them has some type of trait or some type of character flaw that makes them terrible or unlikable in some way. So not only do we not have anybody to root for, but we also don't get any of those wild, over-the-top performances that we've seen in past Evil Dead movies. I'm thinking, of course, of Ash from the original Evil Dead movies, or even Ellie from Evil Dead Rise. I mean, even Rachel McAdams from Send Help, which came out at the beginning of the year, had a much more crazy, wild, intense performance than anybody in Evil Dead Burn. The movie, for the most part, has everything that hardcore Evil Dead fans would want in terms of violence and gore, but I just think that if that is the best thing that the movie has to offer, then that's just doing the bare minimum. I don't think I'm going to pay to go see this movie again while it's still out in theaters, but it is a movie I do want to try out one more time just to see if, I don't know, maybe there's just something I missed about it. But yeah, after one viewing, for me, this is a D tier movie. I really do hope that they can kind of get things back on track for next year's release of Evil Dead Wrath, just because I am genuinely a fan of this franchise and I want to see them make good movies that are not only gory and, over the top and campy, but also have interesting characters and great over the top performances that you remember. Thank you guys once again so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.